this feels weird. So I'm just gonna move you like over here, okay, babe? Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday. It is hump day, and we have a lot of information to cover. Welcome here. If you are new here, make sure that you click like and subscribe, and make sure that you are signed up for notifications, because a lot of you have told me that you are signed up for notifications, but you're not getting notifications of my live streams. So welcome here, Nika here with your daily neuro nugget. And let's be real. Let's be real. Most of us who are objectively immersed in this case, we have been paying attention to every little detail. My videos are 99% of the IDAHO4. I went hard in this case, and we don't want to miss anything. So for all of you who are in the live now, welcome. Make sure that you are leaving a comment in the chat. I always like catching up with you guys towards the end. And we've been paying attention. We've been paying attention to everything. We were paying attention to Chief Fry's hand signals when he was giving interviews. We are paying attention to how he maybe fibs when he scratches his nose, and we have been paying attention to the coroner. And because we are 2.5 years into this case, and we are this close to trial, guys, we're this close to the trial, we need to review a lot of things that may seem like are repetitive, but every time that I go back and revise different interviews that the coroner has given, it makes me wonder if she is lying. It makes me wonder if there is something that she is not telling us, and if she is not telling us something, that could be for a variety of reasons. We do understand that even pre-gag order, she gave a lot of very weird interviews. So I'm going to be revising one of her interviews that she did back on November 17, 2022. One of the interviews that she gave is a little bit concerning, even looking at it 2.5 years later. And again, if you're just coming in, we're going to be talking about the coroner removing the bodies. What did she see? Let's talk about the timeline, the original 2 a.m. passing away timeline that she mentioned, that she shared with the world. And I know that this has been asked before. I know that I asked it yesterday in the live, and I'm still unable to get a clear, concise answer. Does anybody in the chat, does anybody watching this video know how come there are no photos of any of the victims that we have seen being removed from the house? Did they remove them before all of the journalists got there, before it became a massive media frenzy? We do understand that the street was somewhat blocked off. And look, I'm not saying that there should be pictures, because that does make it a little bit morbid, a little bit macabre. I do believe that all 4 victims, as you guys have seen, if you are paying attention to the videos, sometimes there's commotion, motion, shadows going on. I allow whatever wants to come into my home and is not at rest, I allow them to come here because they have some sense of peace here. So if you see anything weird, I had a lot of you guys message me saying, what is going on? What's up with all these weird shadows? It's like, let them chill. Now, part of me wants to not have any of those pictures because, you know, they do deserve that respect. The 4 victims do deserve that respect. But I'm asking because I've never seen such a massive case. Okay, this is a pretty high profile case. This case has gone worldwide. And how come there are no pictures? Now, sure, if you want to be the type of person that wants to credit Moscow Police Department, saying that they actually handled this investigation very well, if you want to give them props for their, you know, no pictures being released of the 4 bodies being removed, fine, fine, but do you find it a little bit strange? Because there have been, like I just mentioned, cases that are much more high profile that we've seen pictures. There have been pictures leaked, right? And from what I've heard is that the street was all closed down and they didn't let anybody near where the bodies were removed, and then that they removed the mattresses later. Some of us have seen those images of the mattresses being removed from 1122 King Road, and it's a little bit disturbing in my opinion, right? Welcome, I see you guys joining me. The mattresses were removed later, like they were removed weeks later, right? And from some of the images that we have seen, we've seen that yes, some of the streets were blocked off. The door was shielded with tarps. And I've also seen that picture. I'm sure all of you guys have as well. Let me know if you've seen the image of the van that was backed up to the front door with the tarps shielding the view as they were draped from the back of the van and attached to the sides of the house around the door, right? But remember, this is a small town with a very small police department. Therefore, they are able to have that ability to kind of control the narrative from the first moment. So if it was up to Chief Fry maybe to control, look, there's going to be no pictures, or we don't want information being released as quickly, or we don't want images being released as quickly, that's fine. But they also have controlled the narrative in other ways. Kind of like when Chief Fry lied to all of us, this is my opinion, that he lied to all of us saying that the town was safe, that this attack had been targeted, even when they had zero idea who had committed this crime. So yes, they had the ability to control the narrative, and because this is such a small town, such a tight-knit community where we have coroner Kathy Maybett doing the role of 3+ people. We know she is a coroner, we know she is a lawyer and a nurse, and what else does she have on her resume? And when you have such a small town, I used to live in a very small town near Delphi, Indiana for a long time. And you have such a high ranking, we'll say it's a high ranking position. You're dealing as a coroner with a lot of law enforcement directly and indirectly. The ability to be controlled is there. Now, I'm not saying that coroner Kathy Maybett was controlled or that she even had the ability to control the narrative. But because we have seen and kept up with Moscow Police Department and with law enforcement in the area, and we have proof that they have been corrupt in the past, it does make you wonder if little old Kathy Maybett was maybe afraid to question or speak up or be honest in what she saw when she was in there assessing the bodies of all of the victims, right? So let's see. So I'm pulling up this interview on social media that coroner Kathy Maybett says, and she's being asked if she's done this before. Do you have experience, ma'am? Have you done this before? She says, well, there have been at least 2 other multiple homicides I've been involved in. The interviewer asked, do we know how long between the time of death and when the police arrived and found them? So again, this is a very old interview that was given back in November 2022. But as I am rewatching this, I'm rewatching all of the interviews she has done. And the first thing that I have missed in the past that I'm really paying attention to now is body language. And although I'm not a body language analyst, I do have a psych background. So we also are trained to pay attention to people's body language. And in this interview, guess what little old Kathy Maybett does, okay? She immediately crosses her arms as soon as she is being asked this question. Crossing your arms in psychology, of course, body language is going to differ across people. I cross my arms quite often. Most of the time it's because I'm cold, because I'm not overweight, right? So when you are assessing, when we are all assessing her body language here, she's open to the world, right? So yes, it can mean that you're cold, but when you go from this position, being open, giving your interview, and then you are being asked a question that you may be uncomfortable with, and you immediately do this and start doing this, it comes off as, again, I am psychoanalyzing. This is my opinion. These are my theories. These are my speculations. It comes across as you know something and you are not wanting to share it with us for whatever reason that is. So then the interviewer says, well, could it have been hours or could it have been a day? And she says, well, not that I'm aware of. It just depends on the toxicology reports. And again, when you pay attention to this interview, and I will try to link it in the description so you guys can watch it because I don't want to get in trouble for sharing it here. She's cool, calm, and collected at the beginning of the interview, but because she very quickly changes her body language as soon as the question is asked about time of death and when the police arrived, how long has it been, she seems to get very uncomfortable, and that is extremely suspicious to me. So the coroner doesn't have a time of unaliving in the Idaho murders. So we are just gonna depend on this little white car that is seen on random footage to tell us, right? How do we not have a physical time of passing away based on these toxicology reports like she promised? And what's also extremely suspicious to me is that she is saying that the toxicology reports do not matter. In my opinion, the toxicology reports are one of the most important pieces of evidence, because guess what? If these four maybe OD'd, we know they are college students, we know this was probably a pharmaceutical home. We've seen a lot of people, locals especially, sharing their views on 1122 King Road. This was a home that was located on Frat Row. A lot of pharmaceuticals and a lot of people very likely utilizing, purchasing, maybe even selling the pharmaceuticals. So yes, the toxicology reports do matter. Again, why is it that we still do not have the time that these four people passed away? This is normal information that is shared in a tox report. So I don't know a lot about coroners, but one thing I do know is that the coroner, what they're supposed to do, they literally enter the crime scene and they go in there and take a temperature of the body immediately, right? That is a part of the job. And as I was thinking this, I remember that she was not allowed to enter the crime scene immediately, right? Law enforcement entered first, which also leaves room for potential tampering of evidence, especially when we have such a corrupt police department. In this case, this police department has a history of being corrupt. So it does make you wonder. Again, normally the coroner is supposed to enter the crime scene as soon as possible so that they can start taking temps of the body immediately, which also makes my ADD brain wonder about smartwatches. Is there any possibility that any of the four victims were wearing smart watches? And I've had a smartwatch before. I've had a Fitbit before, at least. And even as something as simple as a Fitbit will track pulse, and it can potentially track the last time that you had a pulse, right? If my Fitbit, if I didn't wear it constantly, it would stop tracking the pulse. So if you have a smartwatch, let me know. Are you able to keep track of the last time that your pulse was assessed? Because now most young people I have seen, I sometimes tutor young people, most of them have smartwatches. And if it's tracking your pulse, that is something that could technically be used when the trial begins. Because guess what? If that is accessible, if the last time of somebody's pulse is accessible on their smartwatch, And if that doesn't match the reports from the coroner or from law enforcement, or if that doesn't match the crime scene, the timeline that is being pushed as a narrative, well, Ann Taylor and the defense are going to have a lot of questions, right? Now, again, when it comes to body language, it can be hard to assess. You need training, but when you see such drastic shifts in body language as we see in this interview, it is a little bit concerning. Also, it makes her come across as slightly incompetent. And if I remember correctly, she had reported that there was no way to tell who had been unalived first. Okay, that is not true. We know that there are several ways to tell who's unalived first. You can, for example, look at the contents of the stomach, gastric delay. We know that allegedly some of the victims had ordered food. Did they ingest it? You can get an estimate from the food contents alone. You can get an estimate of who was unalived first by rigor mortis, other factors as well. And you have to keep in mind as we're going through this that this timeline of this crime has been changed more than once, more than twice. It's been more like 3 or 4 times, right? Now, in this interview, originally, Maybeth had said, the coroner, Maybeth had said, on November 17, 2022, just days after the crime, that the crime had happened soon after 2 in the morning, like very soon after. So we were focused on the 2 a.m. is the dark hour. And then when they find out, right, when law enforcement finds out that Bryan Kohberger did not leave WSU until 2:47 a.m., guess what? Now they have to change the timeline again. And that's when they change it from 3 to 4 in the morning, right? And then when they had a reason to believe that Bryan Kohberger was nowhere near 1122 King Road around 3 to 4 a.m., they again changed the timeline to 4 to 4:25 a.m. So they kept pushing the timeline based on Bryan Kohberger's movements, right? To make the crime fit Bryan Kohberger, to tailor this case to Bryan Kohberger's location. And this is something that happens very often with police departments. They are so focused on closing a case, on incarcerating somebody, on getting justice, and I say justice in between quotes because, in my opinion, we need justice for these 4 people. That is literally the only reason that we are here. And actual justice doesn't just mean you jail somebody. It means you jail the right person, right? And police departments, because they get so hyper focused on arresting somebody, they tend to often tailor a case to a person versus fitting the evidence, matching all data points of evidence, and then seeing where that takes you, unfortunately, right? So for all of you who have been asking, in my heart, I do think that the crimes began around 2 to 2:15 a.m. We've heard from Ethan's mother that 2 a.m. was the dark hour. And something else that is my opinion also, as far as the timeline of the crime and as far as the order that people were unalived in, I do think, because when we are looking at codes and numbers and things like that, I do think that the MKXE on the tattoos is the order of the passing away. I do believe that Bethany, I do believe that Dylan Mortensen know more that they are saying, and I do believe that that is why their phones went silent at a very specific time, right? Because it's very likely that something was going on around 2 to 3 in the morning that had their focus. And that is why I believe that the MKXE is very significant. Just like what we covered yesterday, there's always significance in numbers, in order of things. In yesterday's live, if you did not watch it, please go watch that. I covered some of the posts that were shared on 4chan. They were anonymous posts. You asked me, is it possible that these could have been traced by law enforcement? Can you track these IP addresses? And you could technically, but let's be real. I'm going to be honest with you. Probably most people that are on 4chan are likely using a VPN to protect their location. So it would be very hard to track them. But what's very interesting is that when we look back at all of those posts that were shared on 4chan, is that they were posted at 11:22. Is that just another coincidence? I don't think so. I don't think anything is a coincidence here. And I definitely do not think that the MKXE order of these tattoos is just a random coincidence either. But what do I know? I'm just a crime sleuth. I'm just a girl. I'm just a YouTuber. So I will catch up with you guys here in the chat. I don't have too much time today, but let's see if this works. How are you doing, by the way? How's your day going? I hope you're staying hydrated. I hope you're eating a lot of calories. I hope you're staying healthy and energized. And again, as far as Kathy Mabit goes, personally, this is just me using my psych degree here to analyze her body language, although I'm not a body language analyst. I get the vibe. I get the sense that she is afraid. Hello, Christy. Hi. Hello, Pupava. Hi, Suds. Hello, Yogi One Love. Hello, Melstel. She looks scared. Yes, she did look scared when she talked. And if you pay attention to that interview, you can see some of the hand movements. She's like playing with her fingers. She wasn't doing that at the beginning of the interview, but she starts like, okay, it's like a nervous tick almost. Nutella, please hit the like button. Yeah, hit the like button. Misbehaving, I've been asking about this. Everybody else, you've seen them recovering bodies. Look at the Gene Hackman. Exactly. And again, even in cases where there's security all over the place, there's always at least 1 or 2 images leaked of the bodies being removed. And we've also seen pictures of the house where there's like red fluid overflowing from the side of the window. So it just makes it seem that much more strange. Like, you were able to see images that closely of all the red fluid that was coming out of the window, but you didn't take pictures of the bodies being removed. Sud says, I wonder if the Wayback Machine would have whatever pics that were taken by DM that morning. Sometimes yes, there's a lot that can be retrieved in the Wayback Machine, but if the parents of both of the roommates of Dylan and Bethany are as loaded as people have said they are, you can actually pay to have things removed from the Wayback Machine. So Lisa says, with it being a small town, someone knows something. Alex, Nika, you look fab. Thank you. Mel still says, I felt she was afraid. Yes, she definitely is giving fear vibes. Even her eyes, like, it looks like her pupils are dilating when she's getting asked that question, right? Hello, Miss Tree. Hi, Dan. Hi, Lisa. Yes, exactly, Lisa. That's what coroners are, the ones that are supposed to be the first to enter to assess the time of passing of the victims as soon as possible. But we did not get that with this coroner, right? Allegedly, she was not allowed in until law enforcement cleared her, which is really strange. Nigel says, taken ages to get you on your live, Nika. Oh, welcome. We've been on live here. We missed you. She has not been trained to be a coroner, in my opinion. Well, their training seems to be quite minimal in Idaho, so every state is different, but still, right? Coroners are selected into positions, not elected. Mel still says the way she fidgets is very telling, extremely fidgety. She just looks very uncomfortable, right? McDeasy says she looks timid and awkward. DEI hire, perhaps? Maybe. I don't know. Coroners and pathologists, 2 different branches. And Donald, yes, I agree with you. You don't just load bodies in a van. There is a protocol. There is a standard operating procedure, especially for such a massive crime, right? But again, we have seen Moscow Police Department breaking protocol, in my opinion. You see them not wearing booties. They're not wearing booties. We've seen pictures of the cops in and out of the house. They're not protecting their feet. Could they have been tampering unknowingly with the crime scene? We also see some of them are not even wearing hairnets. How did the bodies get removed? Kent says, Maybeth has many roles: ride along, ambulance, EMT, coroner, covered up Hudson, Lindo, and Hannah Clear, crooked DEI sorority too. Yes, she was definitely very involved with the university. And I've talked about Hannah and I've talked about Hudson. Go watch those videos if you have not watched them. But it seems like there is a lot going on with the university. My pal Sal Vintage, corruption at its finest. Ricky, welcome. Yes, that's right, Ricky. She did not actually get to the crime scene till after 5 p.m. That's weird. 55% of communication is body language. I actually think it's a lot higher than that. I think it's more like 70 or 80%. Twat Waffle, can you message me? I have a friend who would love to go live with you. Once upon a crime time. Yes, I hope to go live with people in the future. Unfortunately, right now I'm getting ready to go to my second job, guys. So, and when we talk about them continuously changing the timeline of the crime to fit the narrative, they literally did that because every time they found out that Brian Koberger couldn't be at WSU or couldn't be in Moscow at that time, they kept pushing the timeline. So it makes you wonder, is the coroner also crooked, or is she being controlled by somebody higher up? In my opinion, the coroner is afraid. In my opinion, the coroner does have very close ties to people within the community, especially law enforcement. So there's a lot of y'all in the chat. Welcome, everybody. Thank you guys for joining me. Please leave a comment. Leave a number 1. Again, we're just doing this voting thing for fun. I'm not like sharing the numbers with anybody. Don't be scared to vote. But I just like interacting with you guys and definitely getting your point of view because we're all so different. So if you think that the coroner is compromised, please leave a 1. If you think that she's just doing her job, you know, perfectly, or as well trained as she can do her job, please leave it 2. It'll be interesting to see the tallies. So thank you guys. Have a wonderful day. Leave a like, leave a comment, make sure you subscribe. And thank you guys all for the super chats. You guys have been spoiling me. Somebody gave me like $5 yesterday. So I'm going to go buy coffee. Thank you guys. Take care now. Bye. Happy Wednesday.